We expose the lie of our vaunted moral superiority. We expose the fundamental truth about Western civilization. We are the most ruthless and efficient killers on the planet. This alone is why we dominate the wretched of the earth. It has nothing to do with democracy or freedom or liberty. These are rights we never intend to grant to the oppressed. Honor, justice, compassion, and freedom are ideas that have no converts, Joseph Conrad reminds us. There are only people without knowing, understanding, or feelings who intoxicate themselves with words, repeat words, shout them out, imagining they believe them, without believing in anything else but profit, personal advantage, and their own satisfaction.
City-state was officially created in 1982. That city-state is called the District of Columbia and is located on 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington. The District of Columbia flies its own flag and has its own independent constitution. Although geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are one interlocking empire called Empire of the City. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. This corporate empire of 3 city-states controls the world economically through London's inner city, militarily through the District of Columbia, and spiritually through the Vatican. The Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Roman law known as Lex Fori, which bears no resemblance to the U.S. Constitution. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporate government for the District of Columbia. This treasonous act allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and outside of the best interests of American citizens.
Today, I speak for all victims of a nameless, faceless perpetrator that still hides behind ruling elite families, secret societies, governments, and religions, all providing a cover for the most heinous crimes on the planet. And what doesn't feel right to me is that these crimes, for the most part, still await punishment, and only when appropriate punishments are allowed will both victims and perpetrators be allowed to heal. Dean said that telling the truth is the greatest human trauma because it has been punished over the centuries more than anything else. So everyone has this in their genetic memory and are triggered whenever they do it, which is why so many keep their experiences to themselves. I began telling my story in 1998 under the pseudonym Sue Ellen in a series called Phoenix Undead Part 1 and 2 by John Quinn, who published it. Since sharing it, I've lost a 20-year singing career, lots of money, my health, and my home in an illegal foreclosure just this last December that left us homeless. My thanks to our dear friend Jenny for getting us here today and believing in me and what I...
And all the other people as well. Thank you for being here, all in presence. I see you all in a way like representing all the citizens of this world. You are just a few here if you compare it with the 7 billion, but you are all representing the human being on this earth. And after having my hell ride 1 hour with my sister here, it's quite heavy to start. I have to admit that. I didn't prepare anything. I just go with the flow. Thank you for the introduction. It is what it is. I was on both sides as a child and later as a perpetrator. I have to start with the birth of a human being. The awareness I share is the awareness I have now. It's sometimes maybe a bit confusing later on when I start to express myself and explaining things, giving a testimony about things, because I do it with the awareness I have now. And most of the things I was not aware of in the past. I discovered things step by step. But to begin with the birth, this is a universal thing. It is when we are born, I start to discover we are so connected with the source of life, what I call the creator of heaven and earth. We are pure. We are manifesting the God, being the son or the daughter. We are the light. On the moment we arrive, everything is fine. Okay, there are always exceptions that you can say, okay, there is a malfunction in the body, nobody is perfect, and so on. But the light is there, it's manifesting. Then we enter the program of this world. And this is not a new program, it's a very old program. It's a Luciferian program. That means they start to raise us up through our beloved father and mother, if you have one, in a program to end up in the slavery system we have. Because we are just a source to use. We are the value, we are the light, and they want to suck it completely. Like screwing the orange completely, sucking everything out, throw it away. Once they call this the American system. The American system. You consume it and you throw it away. And that's what's happening on this planet. It's going through your parents. They love you. They want to take care of you. They put you in the vaccine programs with a lot of chemicals to damage your immune system. It's in the school system. It's everywhere to be the perfect slave. There is another thing, and that's more about my story. When I was born, just a bit later on, I started to discover that I was born in a family with a father and mother who were heavily damaged during the Second World War. So these were not real developed people, they were heavily damaged. And because of that, my first 9 years on earth were that heavy that I start to realize that if there is a heaven and earth, I was born in hell. Because it was not heaven on earth at all. It was hell. My mother was not able to defend me. And my father figured out that he couldn't hit my mother. She was so heavily abused and damaged that it doesn't matter for her. So to hit her, I was the firstborn. Because he knew that my mother, for the first time, was able to love a human being, and that was me. So the best way to hit her was hitting me. So brutal that I start to copy his behavior. I was, in that period of my life, it was not a common expression, but I was one of the first terrorists on earth, beating up everyone on school. I was really terror. That was picked up by organizations who protect children. So there was an investigation coming up. And they start to discover my situation, and they, by court, they put me in a place where they protect heavily damaged children. It was a Catholic accommodation, and they really, really loved children. And they didn't have Vaseline to make it a bit more smoothie. This is how I start to discover what it is to have sexual games on me. I didn't know what sex was. And They did this for 2 years. Very intense, not only with me, but it was with all the children. And the first year was most hell. And then you get this fuck up with yourself as well, because after being through all this pain and tortures with, well, I save you the details. It's well, if you know everything, you really like to kill humans. And I was going in that way, in that direction. To survive all this, the first 11 years and the last 2 years was really screaming to go back to the other hell. That one was actually better than the second hell. One of the mechanisms we have in our human being the light, is on the moment you are going through hell, you get disconnected. One way or the other. It is a miracle. So your body is still moving around with everything they are doing, but you're not there. You are there, but not there. Disconnected. That's the way how we survive all this horror. Even they put plastic bags on you and you're choking, and no. Sometimes you go out of the body and you see yourself. It's the way how you start to develop being sensitive in other dimensions. Actually, on your way home, back to the source.
He said, well, we found out that you can keep a secret. He then began to read something like a dossier that encapsulated her entire life story on a few pages. She asked him how and why he knew so much about her, and he matter-of-factly answered, "Your dad sold you to us." She was shocked and grabbed the pages he was reading, and what spilled on the floor were dossiers with pictures of each of her brothers and sisters, including me. Of note, these were military dossiers. Funny thing, I don't remember joining the military. So why did they have a military dossier on me? April said we had been heavily used and deserved back pay for our childhood. So, back to Dawn. After helping this military entertainment official pick the dossiers up off the floor, he then asked her if she would mule drugs on cruise ships for God and country if they gave her the opportunity to play her guitar and be a star on the cruise ship. She said, no way in hell. How could I ever have understood what Dawn told me of country western stars being drug mules and how a well-known Hollywood star? So who gets chosen to be a CIA mind control slave? Most come from poor families, so if the abuse is discovered, they can't afford to pursue justice. They choose kids and teens that come from abusive families. Mental disabilities are a plus because if the victims remember anything and report it, they can claim the victim isn't reliable. The guilty parties of this world love nothing more than to call a person that tells the truth crazy. What we're learning about Operation Mockingbird is that high-profile celebrities become CIA mind control victims as children or teens who are still used by the CIA. And when they start to recall being forced to abuse a child or kill somebody, they feel shame and guilt. Many commit suicide because they don't realize it was their programmer who committed those acts and not them. In many cases, they programmed us to think we committed crimes that never really happened. So in 1947, my father was a perfect candidate. Paperclip to Andrews Air Force Base was from 19...
I was completely an adult who was back inwards, locking myself up in an atomic bunker, not having any attention to be damaged once again by humans, and I was full of hate, meaning full of poison. And I was ready to go in this world to destroy every human being I can get a hold on. One way or the other, in every human, I believe there is a child who is partly locked or completely locked, because we're running through a program. So in a way, Who can proclaim on this earth, on this moment, that he is fully the being he was when he is born? Who can claim this? Who can proclaim this on this moment? Who is fully the light represented on earth? Who is the original being, without of being programmed, without of being hurt, without of being manipulated? The horror we are facing today is our horror. Because the world we are facing today is not because of the perpetrators, perpetrators. It's about the billions of people who are doing nothing. And it's not pleading guilty. No. It's about being unaware. A warning ahead. You have to put your conscience in the freezer in minus 100 degrees. And I say, no problem. Hey, I'm nearly dead, so no problem. So I became, step by step, a servant of the big money, step by step. It was still taking some years to come in the high. Then you start to work for banks, independent. You're doing the dirty work for central banks, for multinationals, for governments, for what they call now terrorist organizations, and all secret services. Hey, secret services? Yes. And then on top, like the peach or the fruit of the cake, churches. Wow, you get the whole palette where the money floats, the big money. And you get the invitation to join in these circles to move all the money they want to move worldwide. To start wars, to start all the misery in this planet. Because there is nearly no misery on this planet in a natural way. It's most of them is created. Because they keep the system running, because it's a dualistic system. They make the money only because when it's dualistic. And if we have all the ships, these energy containers they use only to suck, if they are asleep, fine, you can do whatever you want. This is also the mentality of the elite. Well, they are not elite. They are not elite. The people I worked for in the end of the days, you're talking roughly about 8,500 people on this world who run the show. And they are like who I was. Completely afraid, nearly dead, filling up the holes daily, never enough, serving the monster of greed, the monster of more. And there comes Lucifer in the end. Because we are talking here about interdimensional things. This 8,500 became my friends. Because it was really coming home. First time in my life I start to be with humans who understand me and I understood them. Because most of them were going through the same hell. They did it in a different way, different bloodlines, but they have also a lot of misery in their lives. Electric caves are a normal thing in the education of this kind of societies. This is not about humans. This is about a very evil dark force who really enjoy to destroy all life on this planet. And it's still on. And I was enjoying them as well. I really, and I don't say it with regret because I'm going back now in time, otherwise it's a fake. I really enjoyed it to have the opportunity to destroy all humans and all life on earth. Nature was nothing. It was to be destroyed. We were hating everything what represent life, what represent the creator of heaven and earth. Don't take this very light. You can't imagine, I understand that, not all can understand this, but this is going on till today. In the end, that's the world I come out. My turning point was that I was so good in everything I did with my team that I was, in their opinion, ready for the last stage, to be invited and sacrifice of children. That hits me. That was really going through my bunker. I couldn't handle it. It was hitting me like hell. I didn't go there. And I started to malfunction. And my whole career falls apart. And I'm a man of word. If I give my word, I will give my word forever. And if it's in the dark side or in the light side, it doesn't matter for me.
Well, I just want to say, I think it's excellent what you're doing. I think one of the things, if we're going to change this world, we're going to have to change the way people perceive it. And I grew up in a multi-generational family in Arden, Delaware, in the United States. My parents were generational Illuminati. My father was 10th generation Illuminati. They joined the cult in the 1720s. What I really talk about more than just the cult, I talk more about healing modalities, and that my mother told me in 1963, basically the world is based on collective consciousness. And if we understand anything about consciousness, and we're all knit together in the subconscious. And we have to clean up our subconscious because we get a solipsistic, shall I say, Satanism light brainwashing in the first 6 years of life during the programmable state. The programmable state is the most important message I have personally to give to everyone on this planet. You think your conscious mind is running your life, but it's actually the 40 million bits of information that go into the morphogenic field every second that runs your life from your subconscious. Your conscious mind only donates 5, maybe 4 million bits of information to the morphogenic field. 95% of the morphogenic field's information is coming from the subconscious, and your subconscious was given to you by your culture. It's not something you decided on. The work of Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza are indispensable for understanding exactly how this world works. The Illuminati know this, and what they do is through trauma-based mind control and soft mind control is control the perception of humanity. That's why they control academia. That's why they control the media. That's why they control Hollywood. It's all about getting your perception in line with their desires. And we have to come to a place where we change the paradigm by changing ourselves and what we'll put up with in this world. the go along, get along attitude you get.
The conqueror writes history. They